Okay, so just an update here. So this literally just kind of snapped right off when I started. I got one of these. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a break from the shop and actually doing a little maintenance on the lawnmowers. Spring here, so I'm just kind of gearing up for the season. So I'm going to be going through some maintenance, showing you what I do every spring, and yeah, so make sure you hit the like button down below, subscribe, and stay tuned and enjoy. So where we live, we have quite a bit of grass, so we actually have two Husqvarna zero-turn lawnmowers, because sometimes we're both out cutting. So I'll show you here. So these are them. We got an older one here. It's a 54-inch deck, Z254. Doing a little bit more maintenance on that one today. And then our newer one, this one here, Z248F. So it's the F being it's got a fabricated deck to it there. Yeah, pretty nice machines. And both have very similar engines. So this one here's got the newer one has a Kawasaki FR 651V. The older one, basically the same engine, a little bit more horsepower, 691V. Seem to run pretty good. Nice machines, not a lot of issues. Yeah. So general maintenance that I usually do every spring, obviously oil change. So change the oil filter. Also going to change the fuel filter and the air filter on the back. And then other than that, the older one needs a new mandrel assembly. And I'll show you that here shortly. So we're going to be replacing that. We'll see how that goes. That's going to be a little bit more involved. So I'll show you here. So we got our oil. Usually run SAE 30, I believe, but it's been really hard to find. So running 10W30, which you can do. I think it's just a wider temperature range, and might burn through a little bit more oil. So not a big deal. Oil filters. So pretty standard filter. I do have some spark plugs as well. Not my coffee. Spark plugs, but I don't think I'll actually be replacing those today. Might just check them. Got the air filters. Those are pretty easy to put on. Just kind of fit on under a cover there. And a couple fuel filters. And then actually I'm doing blades. I'm going to do blades on our newer one. It's 2 years old. Probably could sharpen them, but they get beat up pretty good. Cutting our field of trees. So, and then that's the mandrel assembly. I don't know if there's a picture on it. There's part number. So here's that mandrel assembly. So last year I actually hit a pretty good sized rock. I'd actually call it a boulder, and I could kind of see underneath. Well, it started working kind of funny, and then I could see underneath these parts here were pretty much cracked, and it was just shearing off essentially. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I gotta pull the old one off, and then I think this is simply, it goes in underneath the deck, and then from the top you put self-tapping screws in, these guys here, and then yeah, we'll see how it goes. The blade basically mounts on there underneath, and the pulley for the belt will be up here. So I'm gonna have to pull the belt off, pull the covers off, and Yeah. So under those covers there, I don't know if it's, can't remember if it's this side or the other side. I'll look underneath here in a second. I think it's this side. Pull those covers off. I don't know if you can see here. Try to get a better shot, but basically the blade, you can see it's kind of hanging on an angle, and the part, the old mandrel's pretty banged up, so we're gonna get to replacing that. So I don't know if you can see here, but that mandrel, it's like sheared off right there. Yeah, so I'm hoping that's the only part that's damaged. But yeah, start by taking the cover off and getting the belt off, and then we'll get to it. So I moved this around just so I got some light coming in through the door here, because I got to work on this side. So the first thing I did is, after I moved it, I put the blade down all the way, lowest setting, and yeah, we're gonna work on getting the covers off and then the belt off. Side was a little too tight for the drill, and almost needed some WD-40 or something to get that off. Okay. Keep my parts together. So there's just 2 screws holding this cover in place, and then I'll have access to the belt. We'll get that off. So you can see I got the cover off. So this is the good side still. This is the one that, the mandrel that needs to be replaced. So I don't know if you can tell by looking at it, but it's actually, it's tilted this way. And that's, I think, where it's sheared off under the deck. You can kind of tell by looking down here. You can see this is sitting a little bit lower, and I'm hoping that's the only damage. But anyways, yeah, so now it's I'm gonna kind of clean up a little bit, clean the deck, and then we'll get the belt off. So what I gotta do is I gotta loosen up this nut, and then I think this whole arm should move, should push backward, inward, as it says in the instructions, and then that should take enough tension off that I can get the belt off. And I really only need it off this pulley, so I'm going to try to do it. Try not to have the whole belt come off every single different pulley, because that might be a pain getting it back on, but I'm going to have to get it off no matter what, so here we go. So I loosen that nut. So what I think I can do is just kind of apply pressure right there, push it in, and then work the belt off this pulley here. So So I'm just going to show you here. I finally got this guy loose. It was a hell of a task. That thing was really on there. So problem is, and I think other people have this problem too, is you know your blade, it basically wants to spin, so you have to kind of keep that blade in place. I took the blade off originally, realized I had to put it back on to get leverage. So you can see here I kind of had like some 2x4s I'd previously nailed together and put that in there with some vice grips and kind of hold it from moving. And then I just got on the adjustable wrench and just cranked on it. So put some WD-40 in there, and she came loose. So that was quite the task. Anyways, so we'll get that pulley off, and then we'll get the bolts undone on the mandrel there, and we'll get that replaced. Okay, so just an update here. So this literally just kind of snapped right off when I started. I got one I got one of these out. It was already broken. I got vice grips on it and was able to loosen it off. And then I went to loosen another one, and this whole thing just fell through the hole. So I still have two bolts in there with hunks of metal on them. And when I tried to get the first one out, it literally just snapped. You can see that literally just sheared. So yeah, see what we can do. Okay, so I finally got all the pieces out. You can see here all little corners basically. I was able to get one out cleanly, and then as I was trying to turn the other ones, I think there was cracks at all the corners, and basically this whole thing fell through the center, and then I'd use vice grips and crank away on it to get the pieces out. So now I'm just going to kind of tidy it up before I put the new one in, and yeah, we'll get that mandrel in and get it. Should be a lot quicker going the other way. That was a lot of work just to get to this point, so. We'll just show you here. So essentially the new mandrel goes in from the bottom. You basically just line up the holes, and then put in those self-tapping bolts. So we'll get that in now. So I will mention too, here's the instructions. So it's got the old style here on the instructions, which had this old spacer. Now with the new one, the spacer's actually integrated. So you can see there, that's the spacer on. Okay, so got the mandrel in place. Use my drill to get the bolts started, and then kind of finished with the just a socket wrench there. Yeah, so now put the pulley back on and get the belt on and put the blade on, and we're good to go. So you just want to make sure that that's fully seated. So I think what I'll do first is I'll put the blade back on, and then that way I've got some leverage to tighten that nut down just like it was coming off. Yeah, so we'll get that blade back on here first. Okay, so that pulley is back on. Everything seems good, so it's just a belt now. Getting the belt back on, I'll tighten up that other nut, and then yeah. So I lowered the deck back down, and then just have to go in and tighten this up. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? I don't remember that. So now that we got that Mandrel switched out and everything, last thing you want to do is put some grease on it. So I'm going to grease all the zerks. Yeah, so you just grease gun, fits over the top of the zerk, and give it a few pumps, basically to get some grease in there. So we'll do that, and then it's all good to go.
Probably should have done this with the cover off, but it's kind of hard to get that on there. There we go. I'll grease the other fittings, and then that's all done. So again, that's just a grease gun, and probably did 2 or 3 pumps to get some grease in there.
So there you have it, folks. That's how you replace the Mandrel assembly on a Husqvarna zero-turn mower, and I think it's probably the same for a lot of zero turns, but always refer back to your manual, and if you're not sure, about something, always check with your dealer. So anyways, yeah, that's it for that. So like this video, make sure you subscribe down below, it really helps out, and we'll see you next time.